Hello lovely ones, welcome to the channel. I wanted to show you something that's really precious to me. So this is the Bible, when it comes to the kitchen anyway. I was given this when I turned 21 and it is a collection of recipes that my Nana had gathered, and when my pop retired he was an engineer and I'm not quite sure whether he took early retirement or not, but he then went on to do some contract work in Southeast Asia, and whilst he was doing that my Nana was with him, and to fill her time what she did was she wrote out all the recipes that she had gathered into this booklet, and she had a copy herself and she gave it to my mother and my two uncles, and I then got a copy when I turned 21. And this is just full of so many recipes that hold really lovely childhood memories for me. And with it being my eldest's birthday, she has asked for a chocolate cake, but one that's not overly chocolatey. Now, as a confessed chocoholic, that doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, we have members of the family who like brown sponge cake, if you get my drift. Yeah, chocolate cake that's not chocolatey. But the recipe that is in the very front of this book is a happy medium, and it is, funnily enough, called Simplicity Chocolate Cake. It's that middle one just there. And it, as the name suggests, is really, really simple to make. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So into a bowl I am going to add 1 cup of self-raising flour, and a lot of my Nana's recipes are like this. They're sort of cup measurements. So 1 cup of self-raising flour, 1 cup of sugar. If I can grasp the sugar container. We need 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. She calls for 2 level tablespoons, but this is me we're talking about. I'm being rather restrained here. What do we need next? We need 1/2 cup of milk, Now I'm just going to grab a wooden spoon and mix these dry ingredients together first. I'm just going to incorporate these. It's not just as she says, but we all have our own way of doing things. So there's that half a cup of milk, 2 eggs. Now she's written there 3 if small, but these are decent sized eggs, so 2 will be plenty. Half a teaspoon of vanilla or almond essence, but I've got the extract here that I've made. And Nana's instructions say to melt the butter, which I have done. I have 3 tablespoons of butter that I've melted. Put all the other ingredients in a basin and pour the melted butter on top. Now I've let this cool a bit so that the eggs don't scramble. and then beat really hard by hand with a wooden spoon for 3 minutes. And then grease and line an 8x8 cake tin and bake in a moderate oven, which she has put at 400 degrees, which would be Fahrenheit, or 200 Celsius. And that I've taken that down to 180 because I have a fan forced oven. We're just wanting to make sure that there are no lumps in here at all. Usually when I make a cake I would start off by creaming the butter and sugar together, but this cuts that step out. Now I'm not wanting to overwork the flour here, so I'm not going to mix it for as long as Nanna has suggested. I'm going to grab my cake tin and some butter, and I'm going to grease this. Is very well greased. So I'm going to pour this in. I'm just going to grab a scraper. The good thing about this recipe book is there's actually a acetate or plastic cover on the front, so there's no risk of spilling stuff on the page unless you're rather clumsy and forget to have that on. But Nanna really did think of things like that. Sadly, she's not with us any longer. She passed away in, oh goodness, it was during COVID. I think it was 2021 she passed away. She'd suffered with dementia for a long time. My Nanna was the most amazing cook, and she's one of my kitchen heroes. You know, she's inspired me a lot with food. Anyway, that is our cake ready to go into the oven. I'm going to pop it in for we'll put it in for 20 minutes and see where we're at the 20-minute mark. Now obviously I've got the house to tidy and I really, you know, I've got a million things to do, but my brain's telling me that I need to get some bread happening, so I'm procrastinating, and I'm going to get a couple of loaves going just while the cake is in the oven. I'm going to start off with 220 grams of sourdough starter. Put that over there. I want 590 grams of water. This is out with a water filter. Nearly there. Yeah, be fine. Tear that back. I want 48 grams of honey. Because we need a little bit of sweetness just to help with the rise. Nearly there. That will do. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit over. 17 grams of salt. And I know that seems like an awful lot, but it is between 2 loaves of bread. and 1200 grams of bread flour. That's probably going to be most of this flour. Here we are. I'm going to pop this in the mixer and get this going, and it can mix away to its heart's content, and we'll get the next lot on as well. Now that we've got the sandwich bread loaves on the go, let's get a artisan loaf happening. So we'll weigh out 113 grams of sourdough starter. Oh, I've gone a little bit over there. Be right. We'll just cut down the water a little bit. We then want 360 grams of bread flour. Go with 260 grams of water. I'll call it 250 and we'll see how we get on, just because we've got that extra starter in there. And then I'm just going to go in with a decent pinch of salt. And I'll get my dough whisk and we just bring it together. And it's that simple, really. Now you could measure this out using just measuring cups, but I'm finding that it's better off if I actually use the scales to do a lot of the measurements. It's a lot more accurate. It depends on how you fill the cups. So I'm going to leave that like that for now. I'm going to cover it over and I'll come back and do stretch and folds on it. So the cake ended up needing 30 minutes. I checked it at 20 and 25 and it just wasn't quite ready. It was quite reticent to open the oven because Nana was always adamant that you shouldn't open the oven and that nobody should be jumping or bumping because it will make the cake go flat. I don't know if you can see very well, but this has got a really lovely rise on it. I know traditionally people like their cakes to be quite flat, but there's something really lovely about that dome top on the cake. I'm going to turn this out so that it's got a chance to cool. Let's see if we can get this to come out in one piece. Feels lovely and spongy and light. So let's see if we can get this to turn out. Then no, it's not going to play ball. Just have to tease it a little bit. Nana was never one for lining the bottom of her cake tins with baking parchment, but sometimes it may be a good idea. There we are, we've got lift off. There we are, in one piece. Happy days. So I'm going to let this cool down properly before I ice it. Now that the cake's had a chance to cool down, still a little bit warm, but it's cool enough, we're going to ice the cake. And it's a really simple icing. I've got my gigantic tub of icing sugar, because, you know, who doesn't have a gigantic tub of icing sugar? And I'll just, oh, making a mess, scoop out some heat dessert spoons. Four should do it. Then we'll grab that big bag of cocoa powder. Three heaped teaspoons of cocoa powder. And I'm going to add in a few drops of lemon juice. It just lifts everything and brightens it. You don't need much liquid at all. And I'm just adding it in bit by bit because I have a bad habit of adding in far too much and then it goes too runny. So slowly, slowly. Maybe needed a bigger bowl, but it'll be right. It's coming together nicely. I'm going to put a little bit of water. Only because Emily is not that keen on lemon flavoured stuff. And you can see that that is a really nice consistency. It's nice and thick like ganache, but it's not going to be rich and sickly. Much to my disgust, but you know, it's not a cake for me. I'm going to pop the cake onto a plate before we ice it. Get my wee palette knife. We'll just pour this over the top. Look at how smooth and velvety that is. It's just beautiful. And this will set, not hard, but it will set. Just going to smooth this over. I want to thank you for joining me this week whilst I made a cake for my eldest. Being able to share these precious family recipes with you brings me so much joy. If you've enjoyed this video, I would be most grateful if you would hit the like and subscribe button. That way you'll be notified every time there's a new video uploaded. I release a new video every single week. Also, if there's somebody who you know would enjoy this type of content, please do share it with them. And here is the finished cake. So until next time, my lovelies, take care of yourselves and enjoy that time in the kitchen.